All right, once again, we're talking about compound interest, but what happens if the time periods are just weird? What if they don't line up? Like, what if it's not like compounding every year? What if it's like Dwayne's investment here that compounds monthly? So here's what I mean by weird time periods. I'm given a annual percentage rate of 3%, and it's PA per annum, so that means once a year. So that's a yearly amount, but the interest, it says it's compounded monthly. So what that means is that at the end of every month, they work out the interest for that month and put it back into the account. So it's compounding much more frequently than if it was once a year. And then after 7 years, we're asked to calculate how much he has in the account. So once again, we're back to years. What's going on? I'm getting confused. Is it months or years? Here's what we do. We look at the compounding period and we just convert everything to that. So in this case, we're going to convert everything to months because it says it compounds monthly. So we're going to take all these other figures and we're going to convert them into monthly equivalents. So here's our compound interest formula. And we're going to go through and see if we can work out values for each of these. Well, the A, we don't know. The amount that it grows to, that's what we've got to find out. That's what the question asks us to do. The P stands for the principal. Hopefully you remember. And if you've forgotten, I'll put a link in the description to a previous video that talks a bit about these things. The principal is, in this case, it's 10,000. It's the starting amount. We don't need to convert that. It's a dollar amount. We don't need to convert it. We do, however, need to do something with R, the interest rate. Now, our interest rate is 3% per annum. We always use the decimal version, so divide that by 100, and I've got an interest rate of 0.03. Now, that is the interest rate for 1 year, but we're converting everything to a month. So if it's 3% for a year, I'm going to have to divide it into 12 pieces to get a monthly interest rate. And this works out to be 0.0025. Okay, so this is a monthly interest rate written as a decimal that I can use in my formula. I took the 3%, divided it by 12 to work out the monthly equivalent. Now we're going to do the same with the years. There are 7 years for this investment. 7 years, convert that into months. Well, there are 12 months in every year, so 7 of them must be 7 times 12, which means there are 84 months. And these are the numbers that we're going to use in our formula, because everything now is converted to a monthly equivalent. This is a monthly interest rate, and this is the number of months in the investment. Everything's in months. We can just go ahead now and put those values into our formula, this compound interest formula. Here's my principal, 10,000. Here's my monthly interest rate, my R value. And here is the number of time periods using these values. Whack that into your calculator and you'll get this result. So the investment after 7 years is worth $12,333.55. Hopefully you can see the steps there. Anytime you've got a compound interest question where the compounding is not annual or it doesn't line up with the interest rate, then you're going to need to convert them so that the interest rate and the time periods are all of the same time period. Okay? It might be it compounds twice a year, right? So you would halve your interest rate. So you use 1.5%. Okay? And for 7 years, if it was compounding twice a year, well then you'd have to do 14 time periods because there would be 14 lots of half a year, 14 lots of 6 months. Okay. Some words that you might see, just as we wrap up, a couple of definitions, you might see these words pop up. Annually, we've covered before, that just means once a year. But biannually means twice a year. So if something compounded, just like that example I was just talking about, if it compounded twice a year, it would say it compounds biannually. Well, if that's biannually, that's a hard word to say, what is semi-annually? Never fear, they're the exact same thing. They are what we call synonyms. They're the same. There are different words for the same meaning. Biannually and semi-annually. This one's rare and you won't see it very often. Biannually, with an E instead of an A, means once every 2 years. Okay, that is how we do compound interest if the time periods just don't match up. Good job, well done.